It is now time for our scripture lesson. And my scripture today is Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. God's good, pleasing, and perfect will. And that ends the reading of our scripture. My lesson today is inspired by the Independence Day. Last weekend, we celebrated this country's independence. 250 years of independence from British rule. Our ancestors left their homeland seeking freedom, seeking this new land of opportunities. And our founding fathers held the ideals of this country to become a self-governing sovereign nation. They crafted the Declaration of Independence, which was rooted in the principles of liberty, democracy, and equality. And it proclaimed, this is my favorite part, that all men are created equal. I should say all people are created equal, and that we all have unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The country began preparing for this 250-year milestone almost 10 years ago. And last weekend, we celebrated with parades and backyard barbecues. There was this magnificent boat parade in New York City. The waters were lined with boats from many different countries, all coming to celebrate this with us. Fireworks lit up the night sky as young children looked up in awe at those beautiful sparkles in the night sky. It was truly a joyous occasion. The 4th of July festivities are fun. And yes, we enjoy the celebrations as we celebrate the outward freedom, the freedom of the country. Let us also remember to focus on and celebrate in our spiritual freedom. Each of us has the unalienable rights in this country of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we also have free will. We have free will to choose what we want and how we want to think. Our country, well, supposedly has its independence, but let's ask ourselves, do we? Are we truly free in our spirit? And are we free in our mind? And are we happy? I mean, truly happy. Are we taking the opportunities our forefathers envisioned for future generations? And are we enjoying what we do? True freedom and happiness well within us. They emanate from deep, deep within our spirit. That is our inner independence. If we are relying on the outside world to provide our happiness, it may last for a moment or perhaps a day. When the grand finale is over, the night sky is dark again and the sparkles are gone. The party goers have all gone home and we are left with ourselves. The veins of true freedom run deep. From the place within us where we not only believe we are free, but where we think and we know we are free. When we recognize we have the ability to create our own happiness or unhappiness, free to experience life and to drink from its overflowing cup of opportunity, free to climb the tallest mountain. And then when we get to the top, to shout out as loudly as I can. We can. Here I am, world. I'm ready. Free to express and give love and to love whoever we want to love and to love who we are. Free to experience happiness and joy. True joy doesn't come to us. It comes from us. The outside world can't give it to us. We have to give it to ourselves. It comes from within. It comes from our spirit. We live from an attitude of gratitude and joy, seeing and experience life through this lens. To be free, we first have to set ourselves free, giving ourselves permission to fly as high as we can, like a bird in flight, soaring to greater heights and new places. Scripture says, as a person thinketh in their heart, so are they. We are what we think. We can live in the land of the free and the brave, but if we are not free in our mind, we don't have our freedom. We can create our own prison walls with our very own thoughts. Some of these walls we put up are so high, even we can't get out of them. We may put them up thinking we are protecting ourselves from getting hurt. If we don't let anyone in, then we won't get hurt. Soon, we find ourselves living in isolation, or we put these walls up out of fear. You know, there's bad things going on in this world. And if we lock ourselves up in our house, well, nothing bad can happen then, right? Things can happen right within our home. Fear can have a tight grip on our mind, and it causes us to freeze in our tracks. What if I try? I don't succeed. What if I'm not accepted? What if I get hurt? What if something bad happens to me? These what ifs can immobilize us to the point where we don't want to walk out our front door. And when this fear creeps in, we want to recognize it. And what do we want to do? We want to take control of our mind. That's our power. Control of our mind. Tell the fear. Walk right back out the door that you came in because you're not welcome in this house. Then we want to flip the script and flip the narrative of our mind. And we do this by changing our thoughts. We replace the I can'ts and what ifs with the I cans. And this is what will happen. Trusting and reminding ourselves that all is in divine order. And we focus on the desired outcome. I know I've told this story before, but after 9/11, I didn't want to get back into an airplane. No way did I want to get up in the sky and get up into one of those planes. I was gripped with fear every time I looked up in the sky and saw a plane, kept thinking of the worst possible scenario with flashbacks of 9/11. The problem is, the time I was living in Southern California and my family lived in Pittsburgh. So I was in big trouble if I ever wanted to see my family again. And one day I decided I was going to flip the script. And I began changing the narrative of my thoughts, reprogramming my mind by telling myself how much I loved to fly. Gradually, the fear began to dissipate. And I kept telling myself over and over again how much I loved to fly. And that was really a powerful lesson for me because it taught me what the power of my mind can do, both to my detriment and both to my growth. If we aren't careful, we may become prisoners in our own mind, fearing the worst situation of everything that could possibly happen every time we step out the front door. We don't have to live in a third world country where our government doesn't give us freedom. We can rob our own selves of our own freedom with our mind. Our mind can have a strong grip on us. And if it can think us into fear, guess what? It can think us right out of fear. So when this fear creeps in, face it head on. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Where is this coming from? How do I dissolve it? Focus on changing the script and reprogramming the mind with positive affirmations. The mind is powerful, and we will be amazed at what it will create when we have faith and our consciousness is open to all that God has to offer. Trusting the small G-O-D within us and trusting we are divinely guided by God. Non-attachment is another way we experience our inner independence and freedom. Simply put, being content with oneself. One way to look at non attachment is we are in this world, but we are not of it. We are a spirit having a human experience here on this earth plane to learn, to grow, to love, to live in joy, to experience all life has to offer in this physical world. We partake of the feast at this banquet table of life, but it is not who we are. These things and experiences don't define who we are. And we can enjoy them without being attached to or defined by them. A house, a car, a job, a new outfit, they don't define us. They make us more comfortable while we're here in this physical world. I think of it as living from the inside out and not from the outside in. The outside conditions and toys may bring us short term joy, but to experience everlasting freedom, it comes from deep, deep, deep within us. And when we realize our spiritual freedom, it is everlasting, and no one can take it from us. An important tool to living from the inside out is to meditate. The key to unlocking the door is to be and stay connected with God, the small God within us, and the omnipresence of God all around us, where we experience deep inner contentment. This is everlasting joy. When we tune into God as our source, and when we are aligned with this God in us, we have everything we need. Meditation will help dissipate the fears and the worries. We bring it out of the closet and we put it in the light. And when we shine light on something, we can see it for what it is. And once we know what we are dealing with, then we begin to engage our mind to work through the situation and move past it. Using the power of our mind to flip the script and begin reprogramming our inner dialogue. Our scripture lesson teaches us, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't look to the outer world for your inner independence and happiness. Look within. The Cambridge Dictionary defines transform as to change completely in form, appearance, nature, or character, and usually in a way that improves the subject. It involves a fundamental shift, such as a caterpillar changing into a butterfly. Our transformation occurs by changing the way we think, by renewing our mind with more sattvic thoughts. Kriya Yoga uses the terms rajasic thoughts and sattvic thoughts. Rajasic is when thoughts are characterized by desire, greed, relentless ambition, and outward directed focus. They come from the ego. If the mind is filled with rajasic thoughts, it feels racing, anxious, attached to the outcomes, or overly concerned with worldly achievements and validation. Sattvic thoughts refer to mental states rooted in purity, harmony, and spiritual clarity. And it's derived from the Sanskrit word sattva, meaning essence or truth. These thoughts are essential for spiritual awakening and the successful internalization of energy. These sattvic thoughts are pleasing to the soul. When our mind is in a sattvic state, our thoughts are characterized by clarity or the ability to see situations and ourselves exactly as they are without distortion. It is also characterized by compassion, thoughts of empathy, forgiveness, and unconditional love for others. And lastly, stillness, freedom from frantic desires or the need for external validation. By elevating our life force, the restless, scattered energy of Rajas is transmuted into the deep inner peace and clarity of Sattva. Romans goes on to say, then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, God's good, pleasing, and perfect will. When our mind is sattvic, we are able to experience all the good that God has for us. Joy, happiness, freedom, and inner independence. The mind will set us free, and this freedom is everlasting. Namaste.